This is Freelance Trainers Q&A session with me and Viv about our ABC of CSA, finding the words to talk about child sexual abuse training opportunities.
So we are recruiting inspirational and skilled freelance trainers to support the rollout of our unique and creative resource, the ABC of CSA. And a little bit about Viv Gordon Company. So we're an arts and social justice organisation. Our core belief is that surviving child sexual abuse is a creative act. And our work celebrates the creativity and resourcefulness in our community. All of our work is a creative campaign to increase visibility, voice, community, and cultural leadership by, for, and with survivors of child sexual abuse age 14 plus. So over to you, Kate.
It's me, great. An ABC of CSA, Finding the Words to Talk About Child Sexual Abuse, is a creative resource that was co-produced with over 40 CSA survivors, and it's designed to support better conversations about child sexual abuse. And the overall project includes a set of alphabet cards, a touring exhibition, and the associated cross-sector training. This pilot project, specifically around our cross-sector training opportunity, is funded by Innovate UK, and it's for us to pilot what the training might look like and to roll that out in various training settings. So the aim of this opportunity is to contract a team of freelance trainers to deliver our newly developed training programme to a wide range of health and social care professionals. The training programme will inform, empower and enable staff working in frontline services to use the ABC cards to confidently and effectively explore issues of child sexual abuse. And for those that can see on this slide are a couple of images taken from the cards. So we've got G is for grief, is an emotion I didn't expect, and Z is for feeling like a zebra in the world of giraffes. So the ABC cards are both artistic and poetic rather than being a sort of literal alphabet. So the contract will be a freelance contract of an initial 7 days, which will include a 4-day in-person Train the Trainers programme in Bristol, and that will be delivered by Viv Gordon, Maggie Parks, who is our training and development coordinator, and myself, Kate McStraw. Within those 7 days, you'll also be doing co-delivery of at least 2 training sessions within a frontline setting. And there will be a final 1-day debrief and evaluation session. So all freelance trainers will be paid travel expenses capped at £50 per day for attending the training dates in Bristol, and a daily fee of £150 for all 7 days, which makes a total fee of £1,050. Delivery of training within the frontline settings could be anywhere within a half-day travel radius of Bristol, and travel for the delivery of those training sessions will be reimbursed in line with our expenses policy, which is either mileage or public transport at standard fares. So those will be reimbursed in full. There is an additional access budget to meet any access needs trainers may have. And we advise that applicants should live within a reasonable travelling distance of Bristol, purely because of those 4 days in person and then the 1-day debrief at the end could make quite a lot of travel. And we're trying to find a community of people that are within a reasonable distance of Bristol at this moment in time. So over to you, Viv.
So this is about what to expect at the training sessions. So as Kate said, they'll be led mainly by me and Maggie, and Kate will be joining us for 1 day of the training and probably the evaluation day as well, I imagine. The training will be delivered through a series of creative, practical and reflective activities. We work in a sort of experiential learning model. and reflective practice model. You'll be given all the tools that you need and support to co-deliver your first 2 training sessions. The atmosphere will be friendly, informal and supportive, and safer. We always say safer. We've made a typo. Safer and respectful environment, because we can't really tell anyone what feels safe. We can just try and be safer. And we also focus a lot on access, and there's a slide coming up later about some of the access needs we can meet and inviting conversations around that. And then the training includes different subjects like understanding CSA and the scale and impacts of child sexual abuse in the UK. Lots of stuff around language and communication and active and reflective listening skills. Lots of stuff around access and inclusion, understanding and working creatively with the cards and how to use the cards and train people to use the cards, managing safer, inclusive training environments. We'll be looking at things like support and boundaries and signposting and the limits of the support that we are able to offer. We're not a support service, we're an arts and social justice organisation. So we have some really clear boundaries around that stuff. We'll be looking at things like internalized stigma and externalized stigma and discrimination faced by the CSA community. And we'll be sharing our company approach, which is a non-pathologizing, strengths-based, that's quite hard to say, strengths-based approach to working with survivors.
Oh, there we go. I moved my mouse, clicked off the slide. Great. So the freelance ABC trainers will learn how to facilitate innovative, survivor-centered, trauma-competent training programs for professionals supporting survivors of CSA. Professionals that are supporting survivors of CSA. Create a safer, confidential, creative and friendly environment for learning. Develop and build positive relationships with training delegates to promote a positive and inclusive learning environment that reflects the values of Viv Gordon Company. Work confidently in a multi-agency setting to deliver the training, such as sexual violence frontline services. Ensure survivors' voices are at the heart of the training programs and understand that survivors are experts in their own lives. Be able to demonstrate a deep understanding of the issues impacting survivors of CSA, as well as knowledge of and commitment to social justice, trauma-informed practice and intersectionality, and work to agreed quality standards and actively contribute to Viv Gordon Company's ethos, vision and values. Back to you, Viv.
So this is us, me with different hair, Kate with similar hair, and that's a photo of, it's all about hair for some reason right now. That's a photo of Maggie Parks, who has worked for decades in the violence against women and girls sector, and is our new training and development coordinator, who will be co-delivering the training with me. And all of the training sessions will take place in central Bristol. The dates of the training are Monday, the 30th of September and Tuesday, the 1st of October. So 2 consecutive days to kick us off. And then Monday, the 7th of October and Monday, the 21st of October. So those are the four days of the training. Then after the 21st of October, there will be a period of time when everyone goes out and co-delivers their first 2 training sessions. And then there'll be a day towards the end of November that we'll confirm when we, a bit later on, for the evaluation and debrief day. The training days will run from 10 till 4. And for safeguarding reasons, we don't share the venue until we offer places. And so that will be shared later, but it's within easy travelling distance from the bus station and the train station, and there's parking nearby. And it's important that you're able to commit to the whole course because there's a lot of content to pack into those 4 days. And so this is what we're looking for, the is it right for me question. So we're looking for up to 6 people who have experience of delivering training to professionals. That might be in a different sector. We want people who have some training experience in professional contexts. We are looking for CSA survivors aged 18 plus, based within a reasonable travelling distance of central Bristol for the duration of the course. And so we've been asked quite a few times already on our social media and through emails about our definition of a CSA survivor. And so we will be sharing that in a frequently asked questions document on our website with the application materials as well. The definition that we put in the application pack is anyone who's experienced unwanted sexual interactions before the age of 16. But we recognise that people define being a CSA survivor in different ways. The reason that we've used that definition is because a lot of people who have experienced child sexual abuse or child sexual exploitation as a teenager might not define themselves as having experienced child sexual abuse as a child. However, we also recognise that some people would self-identify as a child sexual abuse survivor if they were abused before the age of 18, and also that it varies in different cultures and across different countries and is often defined by the legal system in the country where the abuse has happened. And so what we're saying is that if you identify as a child sexual abuse survivor, you are welcome to apply. And if you want to have a conversation about that with us, then you're very welcome to. You should also be knowledgeable about the issues facing child sexual abuse survivors and committed to social justice for our community. You should be a confident communicator with excellent interpersonal skills, and you should be able to self-manage in complex working environments.
So I'll talk a little bit about access support. We prioritise access for all of our team. And we understand that access needs change over time and in relation to the context of the working environment. We're particularly aware that many CSA survivors haven't worked in settings with other CSA survivors. And so access needs might come up that you weren't aware of before coming into this course. And we're really, really used to that in our work. So we have an access budget available to support access needs, which might include things like supervision, BSL interpretation, cited guides, personal assistance, taxi fares, and other reasonable adjustments. And you're welcome to discuss your access needs with us at any point during the application process or during the contract period. And I head up talking about access with people generally. So I'll be the lead contact on this. And that is my email there, should you want to talk to me during the application process. And of course, if you were to be offered one of the freelance trainer positions, then we'll meet and you'll have my contact details going forward as well. So how to apply? We ask you to send us a short cover letter, approximately one side of A4. Sometimes it can be a little bit longer than that, but we really don't need to have a sort of 5-page essay. Like, you know, a summary is really important to us. It's not a writing test. Or you could send us a voice or video recording, which we suggest should be about 3 minutes long. And in both scenarios, whether you're writing a cover letter or recording a voice or video recording, we'd like you to explain how you meet the job criteria and the person specification, which is outlined in the application pack on our website, and why you're interested in the role. And we'd also like you to confirm that you're available for all of the training dates that we've listed. And alongside that, we would like a copy of an up-to-date CV, including one reference. And then email those to training@vivgordon.com, and they go through to our colleague Maggie Parks. And if you wish to discuss any questions before applying, you can also contact Maggie Parks via that same email, training@vivgordon.com. The deadline for applications is the 19th of August, and we will let applicants know whether they've been shortlisted by the 27th of August. We're also really aware that this is happening during the summer holiday periods, which is why we launched it, I think it was last week or the week before, actually, 2 weeks ago, and are keeping the applications open until towards the end of August or middle of August to allow for people to be able to get their applications in despite summer, if it arrives weather-wise. So what happens after you apply? So as I've said, the application deadline is the 19th of August, and we'll let you know if you've been shortlisted by the 27th of August. So this will be a two-stage application, two-stage interview process. The first part is that long-listed applicants will be invited to an online interview that will be led by Maggie and myself, and they will take place on the 2nd or 3rd of September. And then from here, we will shortlist applicants down to come to a group interview, which will be held in Bristol. And that will be led by Viv, myself and Maggie on the 6th of September. And we will make final offers to applicants by the 16th of September.
I've just realised that because we changed the wording on this last minute, and so it's slightly confusing, because it says we'll let you know whether you've been shortlisted by the 27th of August, but what we should say is we'll let you know if you've been longlisted by the 27th of August. And so then you get the online interview, and then if you're shortlisted from there, you'd be invited to the group interview.
That's great. Thanks, Viv. That's the end of our slides.
Before we go into questions, I just wanted to say that in the application pack, we sort of were mindful that a lot of people who are survivors of child sexual abuse lack confidence, and that often our careers have been disrupted. And so what we wanted to say is that if you meet some of the criteria and feel strongly about applying, we will welcome applications from you. And what we don't want people to do is sort of not meet one criteria and then decide that means that they can't apply. Apparently women do that a lot as well anyway, but CSA survivors also do that a lot.
Absolutely. I'm going to stop sharing so our faces are a bit bigger. Should I do that?
Oh, big face.
Big face.
Big face.
Right.
Oh.
Great. So, I've had a direct message. I've had a direct message come through to me. Really good question. What are the expectations on completion on the training? Are we to continue to roll out the training on an ad hoc basis, or are we to find companies and charities to approach to offer the training? And is there any expectations on how many sessions you would like us to deliver moving forwards and over what time frame? It's a really good question.
Really good question. I think the short answer to that is that this is a pilot, and so it's funded by Innovate UK to be as a pilot project to test out a training model. And so the short answer is that we don't know. It's likely that we will continue to coordinate any training offers that come under the company of the company work. And so we're not likely to be asking people to find training leads. But we also can't guarantee that there will be training opportunities beyond this, because we'll be evaluating the pilot and then we'll be deciding what to do next.
Yeah. The ambition for it is that it works, and that by doing these pilot sessions, that help spread the word about it, and that people start approaching us to book in training, and that we build a way of people doing that. At the moment, we don't have training listed on our website as something we offer, for example. We'll think about how, that's part of the project, is to think about how all of that can operate. And the hope is that we will be able to have a training offer going forward. And then in which case the trainers that we've trained up will be offered more freelance training opportunities in the future. That's the ultimate goal, but we can't promise anything until we know how this pilot goes.
Yeah, I guess as well that the training that we offer will have lots of transferable skills for other work that you might choose to do, and some of the work is covered by our copyright, and so then it wouldn't be that people can go and train our projects independently, but there will also be a lot of transferable skills and knowledge.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a question here about how do we define reasonable distance from Bristol? The reason we've put it in that language is because we think that each individual can define what reasonable is for them. For me, I don't live in Bristol, and I already travel, over an hour in to do our work, and that is reasonable for me. For others, that wouldn't be reasonable. For some, getting on a train for 2 hours might be reasonable to you, but it might not be for others. And so rather than us define a set time period or a set radius of Bristol, we're making that self-defining. What I would emphasize though is that for the training sessions and the evaluation session, we are capped at £50 per person on travel expenses per day. So if you felt that traveling from Glasgow was reasonable for you, you would still only get a £50 travel expenses covered, which, that would be a less than ideal. You would end up probably spending more than we can cover. So yeah, it's what's reasonable within your travel parameters and in the cost that we're able to provide.
Yes, and also to add that the training is intense, it's experiential, it can be emotional, because we're coming to it with our own lived experience. And so then what is reasonable travel on top of that emotional energy and concentration that is needed to take in the training might be different to what you would do to go to see a show or a gig or something.
Any more questions coming in? I think they're the ones that we've had so far.
Always a reminder that there's no silly questions.
Absolutely. Right, so another question's come in. Could you explain a little more about what we mean by a non-pathologizing approach?
Shall I go?
Please.
Get on my soapbox. So the way a pathology is when something is turned into a medical, is treated as a medical illness. And so a non-pathologizing approach is about sort of working outside of the medical model. Within child sexual abuse survival, most of us have either dodged services or have been diagnosed with a mental health disorder. And that's not, we're very respectful around how anyone identifies, but we don't see our normal trauma responses as being a disorder or an illness. And so we work within the social model of disability, and we focus on understanding the ways in which we've survived as being very normal trauma responses, as using different survival strategies, and we choose not to see those as medical illnesses or disorders. So that's the model that we work within, and that goes alongside our strengths-based model, where we choose to understand, like a classic thing would be about survivors being told to be more resilient, but actually any survivor you meet has already been more resilient than anyone else in who hasn't been through that experience, because we've had to be, otherwise we wouldn't still be here. And so we choose to sort of celebrate the creativity, the resourcefulness, and the resilience within our community. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, let us know, because I can explain it a little bit more.
Thanks, Viv. We've had a question here about what we're looking for in a trainer apart from the job spec, and I think the job spec is quite detailed. So I don't really know what else to add other than that. Yeah, I don't know if you've got anything to add, Viv.
I think the thing that's in the training pack that we haven't included in the webinar, that I realised was an oversight, was that the opportunity is open to both sexes and all gender identities. And so that's really important to emphasise that. And then in terms of our company approach, hopefully that's coming across in this webinar, we choose to talk about child sexual abuse boldly, clearly, confidently. We also have quite a lot of fun and doing quite difficult work, and we embrace a full spectrum of emotions, sort of rage and grief and sadness and joy and all of those things. So I think we're looking for people who are confident having these conversations. I think that's the main thing we're looking for, is people who are confident having these conversations and can do that, in a way that is able to communicate clearly with people who aren't used to having the conversation. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the one of the main things that we have noticed a lot in our work, isn't there? Is that people struggle even to say the word child sexual abuse, and that's because it's been culturally silenced and stigmatized and taboo and all of those things. So it's not a deficit in someone to not be able to do that, but I think in this setting, I know that when we first started working together, Viv, 4.5 years ago, part of what I did was practice being able to say that confidently, boldly, clearly, because it isn't natural, because of all the cultural silencing, etc. So yeah, I think even that is a good starting point for lots of us.
Yeah, I guess the other thing is that we work within a reflective practice model. And so we're not looking for people who think that they have all the answers, because I don't think any of us have all the answers. And we're all on a learning journey together. And it's really important that we can be honest and reflective around that journey in order to be able to move forward. The work that we're doing is groundbreaking, and we're not the only people doing groundbreaking work in this space, but it is, there's so much movement in the conversation around child sexual abuse. It's a very rapidly changing and shifting conversation that to think that any of us have it sorted, it would be a mistake. And so we're really looking for people who want to go on that journey and keep reflecting and keep learning and growing, along with as the culture around it learns and grows. Yeah.
Nice. I've just looked up because I have a post-it note that you said to me once in a meeting, Viv, of it's okay to be learning, and I have that on a post-it over my above my computer screen, because I think there's something about feeling like we have to be the perfect finished thing, and actually that's an impossible expectation, and quite a boring one actually, if we're not open to all of that learning and curiosity, which I think is really important in this space. Yeah,
really important. I think there is a bit of a culture, isn't there, around mental health and around abuse survival, around sort of people going, I'm healed and now I'm going to heal you. And for me, that's a bit of a red flag of like, I don't believe that is the case. And so then I'm quite concerned about that person and what they're holding and the standards they're holding themselves to. And so for me, sort of recognizing the ongoing unfolding of this story in our lives, and how we have to stay sort of dynamically responsive to that is a really important thing.
And we've got another question here. What would we be expected to discuss our personal experience of CSA in detail during the training? Want to answer that one?
Yeah, of course. Yes, of course, I'll answer the question. Absolutely not. You wouldn't be you wouldn't be expected to talk about your personal experiences of abuse at all during the training, although we're always open to those conversations. They're not a separate conversation for us. And it's likely that some people engaging in the course and some people engaging in the training that you deliver will disclose details around abuse. And so there needs to be some level of comfort and acceptance around being part of those conversations. But we don't ask anyone to explain what's happened to them. We don't ask anyone to justify their place there. We accept, if someone tells us they're a survivor, then we accept that. And I think what's likely to come up because of the experiential learning model that we work in, what's likely to come up is that there will be things that you want to reflect on either within the group or privately, either about your experiences of abuse or your experiences of being a survivor, which is a whole another aspect, isn't it, of we survive the abuse and then we have to survive being a survivor. And so it's likely that those things will come up. So in that, there's no timescale, is there, for our journeys with that. So we don't say, oh, you should have done years of therapy, or you should be at a certain point in your journey, because life isn't like that. Being a survivor isn't like that. But I guess there needs to be some acceptance that stuff is likely to surface, because those are the conversations that we're going to be having. But we won't be asking or demanding that anyone shares anything they don't want to share.
I think also, to add to that, a lot of the training will be around working with the ABC cards that we've got, which, if you haven't seen them before, they are 26 unique, beautiful, poetic pieces of art. And they are intentionally that way so that it's not like A is for abuse. It's like they're much more poetic than that, to allow for lots and lots of different types of responses. And each time people look at them, they often reflect that they're having different responses or different thoughts around those cards, or it's they're just seeing it in a new way. They might see the image in a different way or read the words in a different way. And so by spending time with the cards as part of the training, because you'll be then delivering the training into professional spaces, and then those conversations will be happening as part of that training session, naturally some people will refer to those cards when they're talking about their own experiences. And that's a big part of what the cards are for, is to be able to have those better conversations around child sexual abuse, and what those different experiences might be, which can include people looking at a card and saying, that's not my experience was this. And that doesn't mean that experience will be someone telling a long graphic story, because that's not what we are aiming for people to do, but people might talk about things, and that is the point of the cards. So I think it's about being aware of that context as well.
I could say a little bit more.
Go on.
That question has prompted the question around visibility, that again we go into more detail in the application pack around. Obviously the opportunity is only open to adult CSA survivors to apply, and so within that, what that means is that you would be visible as a CSA survivor when attending the group interview, when attending the training, and in the training sessions that you deliver in frontline services. What we can offer choice around and it's really important that we do offer choice around, is whether you want to be on the website or whether you want to talk about it on social media. Those things aren't necessary. Within our team, we have CSA survivors working, some of whom are visible, like myself, and some of whom aren't. And we have allies working in the company as well on other projects. And so we know that being visible in the wider world is not safe or preferred or the choice that everyone makes, and we respect that. But we also want to be really clear that by applying for this opportunity, you are making yourself visible in some very specific settings.
Yeah. How long are the training sessions?
Is that the training sessions that, so the training sessions where you are receiving training from us are from 10 till 6, and there would be
10
breaks
till
during the
4.
day. 10 till 4. Sorry, I was thinking 6 hours. That's what my brain did. 10 till 4, so they're 6 hours, and there would be some breaks during the day. And then the training sessions that we're delivering out in services will be a half-day training, which we've got some planning time next week that we're going to sort of pin some of that down, but we imagine they would be around 3 hours long. So it would be a day, you'd be traveling and delivering and then traveling home in one day. And when you deliver those sessions in services, you would be co-delivering them. And depending on the training cohort, you would either be co-delivering them with someone from our team, or you'd be co-delivering them with another member from the training cohort. And that's something that we'll work out once we get to know everybody.
Absolutely. And to add to that, once we know who's in the cohort and where the training opportunities are to co-deliver the training. Oh, so many training in one sentence.
I know.
If there was, say for example, one of the frontline services available to deliver training in is a service that have provided you with support, you wouldn't have to deliver training in that service. So that would be also a conversation that Maggie would have with people around where the frontline service training would take place, test training would take place, and where they are and when those would happen. And we would find that beautiful Venn diagram of who would be able to do those sessions on that date, that place, that service. So that would all be part of the conversation as well.
Yeah, I think it's really important to say that as a company, we really centre choice and care and control, over your own autonomy, over your own work. And so we're never going to send you somewhere that you feel uncomfortable, because you're not going to do your best work. And so that's really important to us. Consent-based practice. The other thing to say when we're talking about frontline services, at this stage, we're exploring working within sexual violence services and therapeutic and mental health services. So we're not looking at working with police, for example, at this stage, or social workers, or that is something that we will look at doing later on. But at this stage, we're looking at primarily at sexual violence services and the counselling and therapy community.
Right. I think that might be a good place to wrap up for today. If you come away from this webinar and think, oh, there's the question I wanted to ask, please do feel free to email us to training@vivgordon.com. That information is also on our website as well. Oh, lovely. So I just saw someone come and say it's very helpful and it distracted me.
Nice.
Yeah, so do email us if you have any questions after this, once you've let the information process a bit further. And similarly, for those that are watching this video as a recording on YouTube, that invite to send us questions before you apply is also there as well. So thank you so much for joining us live. And for those that are watching it as a recording later, thank you for taking the time to watch this as well. And yeah, thank you very much.
Looking forward to receiving lots of yummy applications. Thanks for coming.
Karen, could you pop the signposting information back in the chat, please, just for anyone that would like to have that as they leave? Thank you.